Okay, we have a new problem. We have a used car lot that wants to be able to figure out how much to charge their users. And we have a bunch of different percentages again. Fords, Dodges, and um, GM models all have different markup rates based upon their popularity. And then we also depends on the base price. So we have two different criteria we're going to use in order to be able to assign what the markup is. So let's see. And you can see that we have what they want to see out is these four things at the end. So let's open up Notepad++ and we'll get to work. Oh, look at that. Already lots of work being done. All right, so you can see only 3 car types, 9 rates, 2 cutoffs, yada, yada, yada. Here, I've taken each one of the percentages inside that paragraph and have assigned them to a place in memory. So we see we have 9 different values here for the different markups. We also have 2 different cutoffs that we have depending on whether it's above 10,000 or above 20,000. So I have actually input here, shouldn't have that. And then what do they want to see at the end? There we go. They want to see these things at the end. They want the original cost. Well, that's not right. That is the base price. So we're going to need to change that. Control C, Control V. Okay, so the vehicle make, and those two things have to be provided to us. Then how much we're going to mark up the car, and then what the total price of the car is, and that all matches up. So what did I do? I copied these two and pasted it up here. Notice also, whenever I know the values that I want to search for, I'm going to place them in parentheses to ensure that everything's going to match up later on and make sure that my user knows what they can type in. And then I copied these two to here and I figured out the math starting with the bottom. And if I know what the base price is and I know what the car markup is, missing something here. If I add them together, that's going to give me the total price. If I take the base price and multiply it by the multiplier of the markup here, it's going to give me how much to mark up that car. So my goal now is 2 things. My goal is to get these 9 down to 3, because you can see they're groups of 3, and then take those 3 and figure out which one it is. So how am I going to do that? We'll do Ford first. So I'm going to say that if, hello, here we go. If, and again, this is why we use Notepad++, if the vehicle make is going to be equal to Ford, then there are 3 different markup rates, right, for Ford. And I'm simply going to assign them. So you can see there's a Ford low markup. So I'm going to call that low markup, and I'm going to make that equal to the Ford low markup. And then I have a medium, so I'm going to say med markup is equal to the Ford MD markup. And then the high markup is going to be equal to the Ford high markup. See, so if it's a Ford, these are the 3 that mark up values. So really what I'm doing here is I'm knocking down these 9 to 3. Well, what happens after this? Let's go ahead and do that next, because now I have 3 different markups, and which one I choose is dependent upon the price of the car. So that's a whole different decision than this right here. So I'm going to say that if the base price is, let's start with the high one, is greater than the high markup, high cutoff, I mean, well then which one do we use? Well, we have to use the high one, right? So then the markup is going to be equal to the high markup. See how that makes sense? So now that we got that out of the way, what should we do? Should we do medium? Well, I can do base price greater than the low markup, and that would give me the medium, but probably the best thing to do again is get rid of populations. So the next thing I'm going to do is else if. So if it's not that, let's see if the base price is lower than the low cutoff. All right, to me, that just makes sense to do that one. I get rid of all the high, then I get rid of all the low. So then the markup is going to be equal to the low cut markup. There we go. So we got those two. Well, what's left? The only thing left is the medium, right? Everything in between. So markup equals medium. I don't have to do a complicated higher than this and lower than that, because first I got rid of all the highs, then I got rid of all the lows. So the only thing left is whatever's in the middle. And that's why we do it this way. So you can see I've taken these three and moved them into here. Now for each one of the other vehicles, it's going to be exactly the same thing. So let's do it. All right, so again, I'm going to be using else if. And what I'm going to do then is copy this, Control C, Control V, and this next one is going to be GM. So then I'm going to take GM. So one problem is it's small up here and high here, so I'm going to have to GM it here. And you can see there's GM, low markup. It's a little bit pain in the neck. Okay, so then I go ahead and copy Control C, Control V, Control V, and now I have the same thing as for Ford. And then the next one I'm going to do again is another else if. And again, I'm going to copy Ford because it's a little bit more consistent. Control C, Control V, and then this is going to be Dodge, D-O-D-G-E, and then I'll copy the word Dodge, Control C, and replace all the Fords. And by doing this, I ensure that everything is going to be the same. And you can see we're using MD, MD, MD. Everything is now matched up. So here I'm knocking them down to 3, and then here I'm taking those 3. So we are actually done with our problem statement because now everything is all matched up. Notice that if we were going to be coding this, we wouldn't be using, since we're doing if, else if, oh, what happens if else? And else would be that each one of those is, well, that could be 0, right? It's got to be those 3. There is no else, right? The else is actually going to be where we do our error check and error trapping. We don't do that in our problem statement. Also, this, and when we code it, is going to be switch, but we don't do switch in our problem statement. We do if, else if, because our user will be able to understand that logic and won't understand switch, and we don't want to have to mess with them. So that's it. We're done with this, and we're going to flowchart it exactly this way, and that's what we'll do next.